I forgot how. Do we have an intro for Arcade Cuties? I forget. Do we just say hi?
Oh
What
my
is
god. Usually we say. Wait, no, that's at the end of we have not recorded for a really long time. We could introduce ourselves. I think Ellie should introduce herself and everything. That would be good.
Hi, I'm Ellie, or Elle, either works. I use she, her pronouns. I play video games on the internet for a sort of living, and I raise money for charity and also head up a charity-focused stream team, Cosmic Hearts, and I'm just a general sort of internet nuisance, I think.
Nice.
That is perfect.
Hi, I'm Justin. This is Arcade Cuties.
Hi, I'm Nyreen, and this is Arcade Cuties.
There we go. That works. Hello, welcome to our first episode with the guests.
Yeah!
Super exciting. Today we're going to be talking about The Legend of Zelda as a series, as a concept. Are we just talking about Zelda herself? What's up?
I mean, I am more than qualified to just, my D&D group has experienced this firsthand. You get me started on Zelda and I can talk for 45 minutes with no interruptions. So, Zelda as a concept or Zelda the person, either works.
Okay. So we're going to talk about The Legend of Zelda today. This is a topic that you suggested, right, Ellie?
Nyreen actually contacted me and was like, hey, do you want to just talk about Zelda on the podcast for a while? And I was like, yeah, I can do that. So
I suggested it because I know Ellie is a huge fan of the series, and I also know Justin's a really big fan of it, and I recently got into it. I'm a baby Zelda fan, so I thought it would be an interesting mashup. Just talk about it and maybe different points that we got into the series. What was the first Zelda game you played, Ellie?
I actually got into Zelda really late. I didn't play it really as a kid. So I am older than I look. And I played Phantom Hourglass and Spirit Tracks on the DS. When I was I must have been 11 or 12 or something, maybe even early teens when I first played them. And I just didn't know, at this point, I didn't even know that Zelda was a franchise. So I remember playing Phantom Hourglass and loving it, absolutely falling head over heels for it, with all the little tippy-tappy controls and everything, the stylus controls for it. And then they did the sequel, they did Spirit Tracks, and I was like, oh my god, there's another one. So I instantly bought that. And then I remember some of the first fan art I ever drew was Phantom Hourglass and Spirit Tracks fan art. And I did it in art class at school. And one of my friends was like, oh, you like Zelda? And I was like, yeah, I do. These games are great. And they were like, oh, which one's your favorite? Which ones have you played? And they introduced me to the fact that it was a series that had been going since the late 80s.
Right. Yeah.
So I just learned of this whole thing. And at that point, there was, oh God, maybe 11 or 12 Zelda games out or something. And I essentially, she let me borrow all of her copies of Wind Waker and Majora's Mask and Ocarina of Time and Twilight Princess and stuff. And I got to play all the 3D ones right before Skyward Sword came out. So Skyward Sword was my first brand new mainline Zelda. So that was kind of how I became obsessed. I was absolutely obsessed. By the age of 16, I was living and breathing Zelda. I had all my walls were covered in Zelda posters.
Oh my god, that's amazing.
I get them all from magazines and I'd be like, okay, this one can go here, and it's half my wall, So yeah, it was very much I got into it not as a child, which was really interesting, and now I'm still just as obsessed 10, 15 years later. So yeah.
Have you always been into games, or was that also something that kind of came later?
Oh yeah, my dad had a PlayStation when I was 3 years old, and his friend gave him a demo disc that had Spyro the Dragon on, and was like, "You have kids, they'll like this." And I started playing games, and it's been a thing for as long as I can remember. So that's why it was so weird that I didn't know about Zelda at the time.
Was it the Pizza Hut demo disc that had 5 other games on it too?
No, it was demo 1, and then there was a very specific Spyro demo disc that came with the PlayStation magazine, in the late 90s.
Oh.
So it was just Spyro on the demo disc. And then there was the demo one, Spyro, as well. So yeah, it was like my parents realized that I liked it and were like, oh, we should get her more of these. And the rest is history.
That's amazing. My parents are kind of the same way. My dad had a Super Nintendo, and I remember playing that when I was really young. And like I was into it a bit, but I got more into games when Halo came out, which was like I don't even remember. When did Halo come out? Like 2001?
Something like that, yeah.
Something like that, yeah. And then that's where like I feel like I gained consciousness with playing video games. It's like a formative memory, and I remember playing that with my older brother, and then that's when I just kept playing games. I somehow missed Zelda 2, despite my older brother being super into it. Like he's obsessed with Zelda. Like he's still obsessed with it. He's played all of them. He's owned all of them. He was always glued to his Game Boy, and I don't know why. I just never played them up until
That's
recently.
wild.
Like, yeah, last year or earlier this year. I don't remember. Was it last year? I don't even remember. My memory is shit.
Also, what is time right now?
Yeah, I don't even.
It's
Concept
all
of
good.
time completely gone. I have no idea. Years, months, days. I don't know what those are. But the first one that I played was Legend of Zelda: Link's Awakening, the remake that came out on Switch.
Mm-hmm.
I remember you playing this. This was like right after I met you.
Yeah. So like that was my introduction to the Legend of Zelda series, and I had a lot of fun playing that. It's the stylization of it is so fucking cute, and the music is so whimsical, and the puzzles are really fun, and I thought it was a lot of fun. And then I decided to jump from that into Breath of the Wild, which I haven't gotten super far into, but that's also a really beautiful game. I really like it. And that's it's kind of like the only experience I have with Zelda, but it's positive. So
That's incredible that it just like completely passed you by despite like family members being so into it.
yeah, like my brother like lived, breathed, and ate that shit. Like it was everything for him. So I don't know why I missed it.
You were too busy with like JRPGs and stuff.
Oh, probably, or Harvest Moon. I really,
Right.
really like Harvest Moon. That's probably another episode, but I do have a funny story about that. You want to hear it?
Yeah, go for it.
Okay. I really liked Harvest Moon, and so did my younger brother. And he would watch me play it because he didn't know how to play it. I got every single Harvest Moon, and I would just hyperfixate on them, and I would just play through all of them. Like it, I just really, really liked Harvest Moon. My mom had to ban us from it because every time my chicken died, we'd cry and we'd have a funeral in the living room.
Oh my god.
So I would like make a cardboard cutout headstone, and like we'd be crying, and like the chicken's name was like Jerry or some shit, and we'd just be like, Jerry died, and my mom was like, I can't handle this shit.
Oh
You're not playing
no.
that game anymore. So
Oh my god, that's incredible.
stop playing the game for a bit.
You know what, though? That's, like, definitely not an issue you have to worry about in any of the Zelda games, is the chickens dying.
Oh yeah. I feel like everybody learns that the hard way. Like, do you remember your first chicken encounter in Zelda? Like a bad chicken encounter?
I think mine was because my first Legend of Zelda game was Link's Awakening DX. So it was like the Game Boy Color like director's cut for Link's Awakening. I didn't have a Game Boy Color, but I had a Game Boy Advance, so like I would be able to like play it on that and make the screen big and all that stuff. And that game, Link's Awakening, is super, even to this day, I feel like is kind of complicated because it's much more like puzzle based, right?
Yeah.
And so I think I was playing it probably like around the age like between 8 and 10. And I just like remember being completely lost and getting frustrated. And so I was like, I'm just going to swing my sword at everything that moves. And like maybe there's a tunnel or like something. And then there was a little chicken that like got caught between a building. And I was like swinging at a sign. And then like a bunch of chickens just flew across the screen and started attacking me. I think for the most part, I usually see it like somebody gets bullied into it on Twitch or
Yes.
like on the playground. Like you have a friend that just is like, oh, go ahead and hit the chicken. Like nothing will happen. Like it won't die. It's fine.
That is literally exactly what happened to me in Phantom Hourglass. My friend was like, did you try hitting the chickens yet? And I was like, no. And she was like, oh, go do it. Go do it. Like next time you play, try it. And I did it and it was traumatizing. But like, I love that it's not always the same in every game. Like in Twilight Princess, if you hit the chickens, this might be a little bit of a spoiler, I don't know. It depends on how into the depths of Zelda knowledge and lore you are, I guess. If you hit the chickens in Twilight Princess, you possess the chicken, you become the chicken for like a minute or something.
What?
So you can like fly around as it, and you can like collect like rupees and stuff, and you can like there's a whole thing where you can like talk to another chicken like in a village and stuff, like as the wolf, and if you hit the chicken it gets angry and then you become the chicken, and it's just I love that it's not always bad, and weaponizing chickens in Breath of the Wild is hysterical as well. Because you can, like, throw them into, like, Moblin and Bokoblin, like, camps, and they will, like, beat the chicken up, and then all the chickens will attack the enemy.
I didn't know you could do that.
It has to be, like, perfectly engineered, but it can happen, and it's incredible.
I want you to know that as soon as I boot up Breath of the Wild, that is going to be one of the first things, if not the first thing I do.
It's amazing.
I'm going to try and do that tonight.
That game has, like, all the means to do anything you could ever want in the most ingenious ways possible, and I love it.
It's amazing.
It's wild. People are still, like, tearing apart, like, different ways to mess with the combat and stuff. Like, I like when they, like, set up a log or a giant rock, and then they talk to the people that are, like, the ninjas in disguise, and then, like, as soon as they turn into ninja, like, it just knocks them into the sky. It's fantastic.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I saw a TikTok of that. I saw someone set up like one of those oh my god, it was like a boulder, and like they hit it a few times and it like gets paused in time or whatever, and then I saw that, and then they just go flying.
Yeah, they like stasis the rock, and you just use physics, and then they're gone. Yeah. They're not a problem anymore.
or people who can just like outright bully the Lionels or whatever, when they're like one of the most intimidating enemies in the game. It's just like so much respect.
I think the most hysterical thing that I've seen with Breath of the Wild that I now replicate at every opportunity is like picking up, you know, like the metal casings, like the big like metal like cube things. You pick them up and you just slam them around like up and down, squashing things like a big hammer, and it's beautiful. There's always the risk that you will kill yourself in the process.
Oh my god.
Like, it's amazing. It's so much fun. It's just pure chaos.
So what is it about the Legend of Zelda games that you love specifically? Is it like the characters or the art?
I think it's honestly the puzzles. Like,
okay.
Before I started playing the Zelda games, so my dad had the PlayStation and my best friend had an N64. So I got the full kind of scope of like Croc, Legend of the Gobbos and Spyro, and I played like Abe's Odyssey and Tomb Raider and stuff. And then I got to play like Banjo-Kazooie and Super Mario 64 and Pokemon Stadium and all that kind of stuff. And I always enjoyed the platformers more, but I really liked doing like the challenge type things where you had to work out what it was that you were supposed to do to progress through a level, or like do a really tricky bit of platforming to get an item that was required for something else, or, you know, like just something that would like scratch those little brain wrinkles and be like, hey, you solved a puzzle kind of thing. So when it came around to Zelda, the thing that made me fall in love with Phantom Hourglass above other kind of puzzly games that I'd played, because I played Professor Layton and stuff at that point too, was the fact that it was have you played Phantom Hourglass?
I'm like, I just started playing it. I found it at like a game store the other day, and I was like, this is mine now.
So there is a temple that you revisit repeatedly throughout the game. The first time you go, there's like a big door that you can't open in there, and it's where you get the Phantom Hourglass. And And every time you do another temple elsewhere, you have to go back to this temple of the Ocean King and retrieve another square of your map, basically, or another item that will guide you through, or the Triforce, you know, like you'll do all these different things to gain the key items needed to progress, but you have to go to the other temples to get the like tools, so like the grappling hook or the bow and arrow or the boomerang, you know, you have to go elsewhere to get these to be able to open these big doors on every floor. And every time you go several floors further down in this temple. But the next time you return, you have more tools. So there are different ways to progress through each floor. So the kind of basic sort of premise of this temple is that you're on a time limit. When you leave the safe zones, the time limit starts ticking down. If it reaches 0, you take damage from being outside of the safe zones. So you have to try and get through it as quick as you can to avoid taking damage and get to whatever bosses or whatever things you're trying to do further down in the temple. So every time you go, you find these new ways to just like bypass entire floors. So there's like really cool stuff that you can do with like the grapple hook, and you can like catapult yourself across a gap that you couldn't get through before. And what once took 2.5 minutes off of your time now takes 15 seconds. So that I was like, ooh, how quick can I get through this temple? And it really hooked me to the point where I was then like, what other items can I get? Where can I find extra sands for the hourglass to give me more time to explore in these dungeons? Like, how can I gain more materials and more tools to progress faster through it? And that was what really got me. And then when Spirit Tracks came out, I was like, oh my God, there's another one. So beyond that, I then just fell in love with how whimsical they are. Like Wind Waker in particular absolutely just enraptured me. And the story of Twilight Princess is fantastic, and the overworld is great, and all the dungeons in Twilight Princess are just the best. But I've never been able to find anything quite like that in other games. There are so many other games that are like Zelda likes, and I've never really found anything that does the same structure or the same types of puzzles. So yeah, that's one of the reasons why it's one of my favorite franchises.
Do you prefer like the cartoonish Wind Waker style, or do you like the more like gothic Twilight Princess type stuff?
I'm in two minds. I'm very much like, oh, I love Wind Waker, but then I'm also like, no, I love Twilight Princess. So it entirely depends. I love them all for different reasons, apart from Ocarina of Time, but
Right. It's so wild that the art style itself is kind of controversial within the fandom, because Nintendo decided to like test the GameCube graphics with like a gritty version of Zelda, and so everybody assumed that like this is the game that we're gonna get. It's gonna be so brutal, and Link's gonna chop off people's heads, and then you got like little cartoony cel shading Link, and he's super cute, and he picks up little piggies, and it's all good. I love the cel shaded art style, and I think it holds up so well. Like,
oh, the HD version of that game is incredible. It is absolutely gorgeous, and that will always look good now. Like, even when you see the original Wind Waker, it still looks beautiful, because it's so cute and fun.
It's like simplistic in a good way.
Yeah. That
like really adds to the art style. I think the handheld games themselves are like super good about puzzles. Because that's like mostly where my knowledge with Zelda lays. Like, I haven't played, I think Breath of the Wild might be the only like 3D Zelda that I have like super gotten into, because we didn't have those other titles like growing up, because Nintendo games were kind of expensive. So, you know, I still haven't played Skyward Sword or Twilight Princess. I've maybe played like 15 minutes of Ocarina. I want to get that one and Majora's Mask on my DS, because I've heard those remasters are also very good. The first Zelda that I probably got super into was Minish Cap for the Game Boy Advance. And in that one, like the key mechanic is that like you were shrinking between, or you're changing size between like tiny Minish version of Link, who is like what are those the little, what is that movie with the very small,
The Borrowers.
The Borrowers, yes. And they have this whole world, and like everything is big, and you know, like tiny enemies become like super intimidating. And then you have to like compare that with normal world that everybody is used to, and interacting like back and forth between them is super fun. My favorite game of all time for the Zelda franchise probably is Link Between Worlds, the one for the 3DS where you like merge into the wall and stuff. Because I feel like they did such a good job of like sticking with that one mechanic and using it to completely flip the script on the Zelda formula. And the fact that you could like do anything in like any order because of the renting system.
Yes.
Made it super fun.
I feel like that one's like the pinnacle of the handheld Zeldas, honestly. They took everything that they learned on all of the previous ones and they were like, hey, I know that this is kind of treading the same ground, but it's going to be better than all of them.
It's so good. I don't know how they would. It wouldn't be super hard to remake it, honestly, because I think the bottom screen for the most part was relegated to your equipment and like the map, maybe. So if they wanted to, I feel like they could fully port it to the Switch and I would absolutely destroy that game. Every corner of it. It would be so fun.
I just remember all the little octopus babies that you have to go and find. And then they sing a song to you.
Because they make like the little like high-pitched mousy squeaks from like Yoshi's Island. It's so cute.
I actually recently got my hands on Twilight Princess for the GameCube or Wii.
The one on the Wii gets way too much hate, in my opinion. Like, yeah, waggle controls suck, but at the same time, it's a fantastic game. Shut your mouth. Like, I don't care that Link is holding the sword in his right hand. It's got waggle controls and you can aim the bow in a beautiful way.
Oh, that's so fun.
I'm fine with that.
I forgot that I had one at work and I was organizing things and then I found it and I went, oh, I'm going to bring this home, but I don't have a Wii. So right now I'm trying to find a Wii either on Facebook Marketplace or like Kijiji or something or whatever.
They've got to be so cheap at this point.
I mean, I've seen some for like $80. It really depends where you go because I know there's like a retro store in Montreal and they had one for like 150 or 200 or whatever, but I feel like I could get one for really cheap on Facebook Marketplace from like someone who just wants to get rid of it.
Yeah, because I used to work at a game store and I feel like we were so like inundated with like a back like so many Wiis that like we sold them for maybe like $60 or
they
$70.
Were the worst to trade in.
And it was like you would get the console and then you'd get like 2 controllers and the nunchucks because we were just like trying to get them out. Like we would not accept the Wii Fit like boards because they're just giant hunks of plastic and nobody buys them.
We used to make benches out of them.
Oh my god.
We had so many. We made like benches out of them and then we had to stop taking them. And I will never forget the look on people's faces when they'd bring in all of this Wii stuff and they'd have like all of the little like the gun extensions and the tennis racket and like, you know, all the weird plastic that Nintendo would peddle to everyone. Yeah. And you'd be like, okay, I can take the console, the sensor bars, and the controllers, and that is it. And they'd be like, what do you mean? Like, what do I do with all this stuff? And I'm like, I don't know, it's your problem. You deal with it. We're not taking it. And they'd just have to walk out with this trash bag filled with like plastic.
Oh, it's so sad. To this day, like if you go to any Goodwill, you would just see like a pile of them. I don't even know if like Goodwill takes them anymore, like the Wii Fit boards. Yeah, the only time that I ever saw like a Wii go for super expensive was when it was the Wii U Legend of Zelda specific version, Wind Waker specific version, because it came with the game pre-installed on it.
Oh,
that was a
like the Wii U wasn't
console.
Yeah, the Wii U was not super popular, but like that's a pretty good little. Are you looking for it right now?
It has like around the gamepad screen. It had like the gold, like the pattern, the frame pretty around it, and oh my god, it was so gorgeous. We once had one come in the store the game store that I was working in, and I would have bought it other than for the fact that when you trade in a console, you have to wipe it so it didn't have the game anymore. And I was like, really? I'm not paying, at this point I was still living in the UK.
What?
I was like, I'm not paying like £180 for a console with no game on it, and like,
what? Why would they wipe it for that specific game?
Oh, because you have to wipe everything just in case there's something on it. Like, you don't know what is on a person's console, so you have to wipe everything.
Like, if you get a PSP, it is probably like 99% of the time is probably filled with just porn.
Wait,
like,
what?
Yeah,
that's why
we had that happen once. We sold someone a PS Vita for their kid, and it had porn on it because somebody didn't wipe it properly.
I'm sorry.
Like, you have to be so careful.
Hold on, I need to process this. I didn't know that this was a known thing. A PS Vita?
Yeah, no.
Sorry.
Because, like,
just so random to me.
They're just like little media devices, aren't they?
Yeah, no, that's fair.
PSPs were like one of the first consoles that could connect to the internet, so it made it super easy to download videos.
Wait,
like,
I didn't even know.
Yeah, they had like 132 gig memory cards and stuff, and like, you know.
Yeah, I guess it's portable porn.
Yeah, they'd just be little porn machines.
Yeah.
So it's mostly to avoid either that or, you know, like accidentally having your grandma's credit card on.
Right, that's what I thought.
Yeah.
I thought maybe it's for credit card information.
No,
it's mostly that.
there's also, if you try and wipe a console that has been bricked, like, you cannot wipe it. Like, if it's been hacked, you can't do a standard normal factory reset on it. So obviously you can't sell on a bricked console. So doing all like the resets and everything was like a really good way to be like, hey, look, I know you've been hacking your console. I cannot take this. No, thank you. Please go home. So yeah.
Anyways, Legend of Zelda.
I'm still stuck on the pornography on Wii's. That's hilarious to me.
Yeah, I think there was like a video downloading service on the Wii.
I feel like I just
maybe
completely missed that.
I'm not even kidding though. I must have played Twilight Princess like 25, 30 times. It was one of those games that I would just replay again and again and again. And I have like a bordering on photographic memory for that game. Like, there's a handful. Spyro, yes. Zelda, a few of those games, yes. Bloodborne, yes. I can like guide people through these things and give them like step-by-step instructions. And like, Twilight Princess is one of those for me that like, I played it so much that I could probably play it with my eyes closed. It means that much to me, so... yeah.
Would it throw you off if you played the GameCube version since they like flipped it?
Yeah, so I played the Wii version was the one that I played the most. I do own it 3 times. I own it on the GameCube, the Wii, and the Wii U.
Okay.
And I actually recently streamed Twilight Princess, and I say recently, at some point in the last 2.5 years, I streamed it. I don't remember if I played the HD version or the original version. I think I did the original because when I played the HD version on the Wii U, it's a remaster of the GameCube version. So I was like running into the wrong places and stuff and like getting lost in dungeons and things. And it was a mess. And I was like, I'm not embarrassing myself like that on stream. I'm just going to play the Wii version and just waggle my little arms playing with the wiggle controls. So yeah.
Yeah, because since Link is left-handed and a majority of like players are right-handed, they essentially like just flipped the entire screen so that like people could use motion controls correctly, which I mean, it wouldn't have been like super hard to just switch the Wiimote to your left hand, but you know.
No, but it's like, it feels really counterintuitive when like, because I did try it once. I did try it on the left-handed mode and I was like, oh, this is really strange. But like, it's only Twilight Princess and Skyward Sword that have his sword in the right hand because they're the ones that are like the motion controlled ones. And like, even I think Skyward Sword is more of an issue because it's got more intuitive motion controls,
right?
Where you actually have to like put the sword in a direction. But yeah, it's the aiming that I found to be the weirdest in the left hand.
Oh, okay.
So yeah,
for like your hook shot and stuff.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, that definitely makes sense. Do you know like a bunch of like the history of Zelda, like as a series?
Yes. I am less brushed up on actual real life history of Zelda now, but as a teenager, So I went through a phase of collecting the books. So I have the Hyrule Historia, I have the Encyclopedia, I have the Art and Artifacts book, and then in the UK, I actually need to retrieve them. I have all of the, there was the set of 6 leather-bound gold leaf, like, embossed strategy guides that they did in, like, the late 2000s. So I have, like, Wind Waker, Twilight Princess, Majora's Mask, Ocarina of Time, Link Between Worlds. I have, like, the full set. And they are beautiful, and I've read them all cover to cover multiple times.
That's what I'm sure they're, like, super pretty.
They are stunning. And I managed to find the Wind Waker one is chunky as fuck. It's like huge. But I managed to find it secondhand for like £15 or something. And I was like, this is a bargain. So yeah, I'm one of those people that when somebody brings up the Zelda timeline, I'm like, actually just hold my drink a second. And like, I'll like fully launch into like a lecture about it. So yeah, you could say I'm familiar.
Okay. Have you seen the Brian
amazing.
David Gilbert like timeline video?
I have not. I actually
It's so good.
So back when I got into Zelda, this is going to sound really weird. I didn't have access to the internet. I grew up in like a tiny ass village in the back end of nowhere, and my parents were the kind of people that like we did not have broadband. We didn't have internet particularly. We had dial-up connection until I was like 14. And then I started needing to use the internet for school, and we had to get like better internet, but I wasn't allowed to use it for like anything but school stuff. So I missed a lot of the early YouTube things. And like I've never really been the kind of fan to sit and watch YouTube videos about a franchise or something. Even like now I'm into the FromSoft games and things, like I just don't do it. I read all the lore in the game, and I will like read the wikis and things like that, but I won't really do like videos or podcasts. So everything that I know about the timeline and the theories and stuff are my own theories and reading the books, because they were physical media that I had, or like from magazines or whatever. Because yes, I was a poor little sheltered country bumpkin.
It's okay. It's a newer video, and he just like goes completely like off the rails, like trying to piece everything together. It's very fun. I guess like, how did you, because even now, if I'm like, when I was playing Link's Awakening on my Switch, right, I essentially had, an IGN walkthrough pulled up on the side just in case I needed it, because I still like got lost. How did you like navigate those more complicated puzzles?
I solved them with banging my head against things. The most notorious one that sticks in my mind is so the water temple in Twilight Princess. Everybody knows the water temples are a problem. But there is one specific bit where I literally just missed like a grapple point, and I was stuck on it for like a good few hours. But I solved that within a day. There was one specific puzzle in Skyward Sword where you have to stand on a little platform, and there's an eye like that will look at you, and like it will close if you get your bow out. Like, usually in Zelda games you shoot the eye and it opens the door. It's like a switch. So I was like, okay, I know what these are. And I like got my bow out and the eye shut, and I was like, oh, okay. And then I was like trying for literal days. I was like, what do I do? Do I throw something at it? Do I use like slingshot? Like, do I use the bow? Do I have to like ricochet it off something? Can I like jump and attack it? And this eye just kept shutting. And anyway, I missed a little note on the floor, like one of those little pedestal things.
Oh my fucking god.
It says something about like how the eye will follow the point or something. And you basically have to hold your sword out in front of you and like do your sword in a circle to make the eye dizzy, and then it falls off the wall. And I could have punched my Wii. I could have punched straight through it. I was furious. And like, I didn't have the internet. I didn't have the ability to be like, hey Google, how do I do this thing?
Yeah.
I just had to solve it.
Or fucking ask Jeeves.
So yeah, I'm very much a brute force person, as reflected in my Outer Wilds playthrough, where I parkoured through a section that you were not meant to parkour through and stuff.
That's fucking hilarious.
Yeah,
I respect it.
I just keep trying until it works. But it has meant that my visual puzzle, like, logic brain is scary at times. Like,
well, even the game you were playing like yesterday, that baking one, I was watching you like flip all those tiles, and I couldn't. Like, my brain does not work in that way at all. Like, it is very linear.
It's a very
process that's
useless skill to have. Like, I'm not even kidding. Playing through Outer Wilds, I think I took one hint from my community on stream through the whole game, because I was like, I spent an hour trying to solve a puzzle, and I was literally just doing it at slightly the wrong time. So I'd solved it, and my brain was like, why is this not working? And I was literally just doing something. It was probably about 2 seconds out from the time when I should have been doing it. And that was the entire game, full 25 hours of gameplay, all puzzles. And yeah, I feel both like a genius and also the silliest person ever when certain puzzles come across my path. But Zelda has done that to me. Like, if you were watching yesterday, you'll have seen that one level completely stumped me, and I could not wrap my head around it. And it's just something like that will just put a complete, like, it will just hit the brakes, and then I will be stuck on it for days. And that's just it.
It gets you in like a chokehold.
Yeah. I literally like smashed through. It was something like 15 to 20 levels of this game in the space of like 20 minutes. And then this one level had me stuck for 30 minutes. And then the next 20 levels was another 25 minutes, like,
oh my
Zelda has
God.
done that to me. But it does make for fun, like, puzzle solving. Breath of the Wild in particular had some really good, like, I'm not doing this the logical way, I'm doing it the way that I think it should be done.
That's like the freeing thing about Breath of the Wild is that because so much of it is physics based, like, it truly just gives you like free reign to do literally whatever to solve puzzles.
Yeah.
And it is just, you can bash your head against the wall until it crumbles, and that's a valid method.
Yeah.
You can do it like the way the developers intended, or you can like clip through the wall. I don't know, like that maybe might be the extent of it, but it's just so cool. It's fun watching people like try to figure out stuff in Breath of the Wild.
Yeah, I love watching this one specific shrine where you have to like use the little electric cubes to like turn switches on. And I love watching people like stringing together like metal weapons and stuff.
Yeah, that's
to like
how
build
I did
their
it.
own
Just like
circuits. And it's like, that is so smart. I would not have thought of that. I would just literally would have banged my head against it for like so long. Yeah.
Just emptying your inventory and hoping you have enough weapons and shields that'll conduct electricity. Yeah, no, that was definitely how I did that one.
And there's somewhere it's like, oh, there's fire in the way. I can't work out how to get past this fire, so I'm just gonna run through it. Like, you know.
Is Phantom Hourglass your favorite in the series, or is it hard to pick?
It's really hard for me, honestly. Like I said, I love them all for different reasons. Like, my top few are Twilight Princess, Wind Waker, Breath of the Wild, and Phantom Hourglass, I think. Phantom Hourglass is super special to me because it introduced me to the franchise, you know?
Right.
I fell in love with the characters and the world in both Wind Waker and Twilight Princess for very different reasons. And then Breath of the Wild is just... I know a lot of people are mad about it. I know a lot of people are like, this isn't Zelda, and I think it's exactly what the franchise needed. I think it's the perfect first step into a new format in the same way that Ocarina of Time was. It's not going to be the best game ever for forever, you know, but it's
right.
An incredible first iteration of a new formula, you know, and I'm so excited for the sequel because I think they're going to bring dungeons back into it, and that would be like perfect for me. So
that's what I think. Like, when it comes to the Zelda franchise, they pretty much just do whatever they want as long as it means good gameplay. I think the only time that they legitimately took like, you know, fans not super feeling the game or the genre was the transition from Link's Adventure, so the second game, to Link to the Past. Because the second one was like that weird side-scrolling one where you were like going to towns and stuff and you were solving puzzles that way. But like gameplay-wise, it wasn't as much about like exploration and that sort of thing. And so like they took that time between entries and like really honed in on what made the first game special. And then with each, you know, edition afterwards, they just kind of picked a mechanic or picked an idea and just like revolved the entire structure around that. And I think it's like led to some really unique experiences that a lot of people just try to emulate to various levels of success.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know about you two, but like one of my favorite things about Zelda is the fact that every game is different. Every game has its own gimmick and its own, not necessarily its own story, but its own like driving force. You know, there is always something new about them. And I tend to get more kind of, not disappointed necessarily, but I like the fact that I can pick up Wind Waker and have this cutesy little adventure that's got some real heart and emotion to it, but has this incredible exploration, like these incredible exploration mechanics. But then I could go to Twilight Princess and have this really gritty, dungeon-focused, like darker story with incredible puzzles. Or you could pick up like Link Between Worlds, and it's a very like whimsical adventure that has an incredibly unique mechanic in both the flattening yourself to the wall and the rental stuff. Like they always try new things with the different games, and that's what I love about it.
Nyreen, from like kind of a new person's perspective into the series, is there a game like in it that you were particularly excited about playing or like super interested in?
Definitely Twilight Princess, because I like the aesthetic of it too. Like I've seen GIFs from it or clips or edits or whatever, and also the trailer and like bits and pieces here and there over the years, and I just like really like the aesthetic of it. That's like literally the only reason why I'm drawn to it. Also, what is her name? The short sassy one that then turns into a beautiful woman. Yeah,
Midna.
Yeah, I want to play it because I've heard too.
Honestly, if they bring back the Twilight and the Breath of the Wild sequel, I will physically just expire on the spot.
So I've seen a lot of people think that it's like a soft sequel to Skyward Sword, because so much of it takes place in the sky.
I have several theories.
For as much hate as Skyward Sword gets, like I think it is probably, up until Breath of the Wild, like my favorite interpretation of the characters themselves.
Yes.
And especially like the relationship between Link and Zelda. Like it is just so beautifully done and so genuine that it just, I think it blows away any like inconsistencies when it comes to motion controls for the most part.
Yeah, it's the most genuine human Link and Zelda you'll see. And I adore it for that. It's also the first one that had a fully orchestral soundtrack, and my god, you can really tell. Like,
oh, that's really cool.
Yeah, I played the remastered version on Switch when it came out, and like it still to this day makes me so emotional playing it because the soundtrack is just utterly incredible.
I really want to see, like, because they did like a touring production for the 25th anniversary.
I've seen it 3 times.
Did you?
Yeah, I saw the 25th anniversary one, and then I've been to they did a Master Quest one, and then they did one after Breath of the Wild came out. And I've seen all 3 because I am a massive nerd and I can't contain myself. It's honestly one of the most profoundly emotional experiences I've ever had. Like, just pure joy. Like, I cried almost entirely through the first time I saw it. Because, like, so many of the soundtracks are not orchestral, and just hearing it in that way and having, like, the live music, like, I'm not normally moved by music. But
It means a lot to you too, the series, right?
Yeah, exactly. It's just nothing will compare. If you ever get to not even just Zelda, if you ever get to go and see a symphony of your favorite game or game franchise's soundtrack, do it. Because like just the energy in the room is phenomenal. And yeah, like I cried at the Gerudo Valley like segment. And like it's such an amazing show, and like when they do the Wind Waker part, the conductor like brings out the Wind Waker and conducts with the Wind Waker and stuff, and like I'm gonna like cry talking about it. Like it's so good. It's so good.
I'm sure it's like super incredible, because I mean, even from like I cried listening to the orchestral version of like the Sora reveal in Smash. Like it made me so emotional. Like I can't imagine seeing like a Kingdom Hearts or Final Fantasy show. I know they've had a couple of tours of that and like Pokemon, and it would be so cool.
Yeah, I saw one, and it was for Star Wars. It was for the new trilogy, well, the most recent trilogy that came out, like Force Awakens and that. And that was really good.
Is John Williams like in his 90s now?
Yeah, he's retiring now. The last like piece of scored music that he did was for the Obi-Wan show. It's like the last thing.
Oh my god, yeah.
Yeah, he was at the Star Wars Celebration a couple of weeks ago and was like, hey, so I'm going to do this, and then I'm going to play Indiana Jones, then Harrison Ford's going to come out on stage because we're doing another movie. So it was like a really weird like segue. But yeah, he's retired now. Like as of 2 weeks ago.
He has worked on, oh my god, Jurassic Park. Jurassic Park music is so iconic, and it's such like a big part of my childhood. So that's like the first thing I think of when I think of John Williams. And then Star Wars.
Have you heard of the game that you can play where you have somebody I don't know if you know what I'm gonna say. So you have to say like the different names of the different soundtracks like to someone, and they have to like hum them or like sing them or whatever, and you can like switch on the fly, and they have to switch to that soundtrack.
I thought you were gonna tell me about the zoo game where you could have dinosaurs, because I've seen you playing that a lot, the Jurassic Park one.
I'm actually gonna play that tomorrow on stream. But yeah, it's like a John Williams game where you like, because all of his soundtracks, when you get down to the bottom of it, they all sound the same. So like you can get completely
you know when it's John Williams.
Yeah, you get two or three soundtracks in, and then somebody will give you another one. You're like, I don't know anymore. Like my poor little brain is so confused.
Nyrene, you sent me an article today about like Link's androgyny.
Oh yeah. So I remembered like hearing about it, that like Link was intended to be like androgynous. They wanted like people to see Link as either like a boy or a girl, so that anybody who was playing the game could see themselves in him. And if they saw him as a boy, it would be like a boy with a feminine touch, or if they saw him as a girl, it would be a girl with like a masculine touch, which I think is really cool. And I really like that Link's always been pretty androgynous.
Anytime I see a cosplay from Legend of Zelda, it's incredible anyways, but it brings me like a very specific kind of joy to see like trans mask dudes dressed up as Link and like doing art with like Link having top surgery scars and stuff. I don't know, it makes my heart happy.
Yeah, it was one of the things that I was like pleasantly surprised about in Breath of the Wild, is like in some cases, like genderless aspects of some of the races and things, and the exploration of the Gerudo in the desert, and how like Link has to dress differently to get into the city and stuff. And then like some of the people in the city are like, hey, look, I know that you've like dressed differently, but look, it suits you, kind of thing. And like it was really nice to see it kind of portrayed in a positive, normal light that wasn't like a really underhand kind of like, oh, he's sneaking in kind of thing. And like people were complimenting him and stuff, and like that genuinely made me really happy. And I know a lot of people have spoken about the representation from that aspect of the Gerudo, and like if you're not familiar, basically Link has to dress up as a woman or in more feminine clothing to be able to get into the city to pass as a woman. And I know people that play the whole game dressed in more feminine clothing because they can see themselves represented in Link in that way. And I love that they added that. And I love that it was not something that was, like I say, something that was like a secretive thing or like a bad thing. It was just something that even though people saw it and realized, they still complimented him, and it was positive, and it was really, really nice, honestly.
That's so nice.
Yeah.
I that makes me really happy. I remember seeing bits and pieces and like also artwork of Link wearing like the like really pretty blue outfit and yeah, that makes me really happy. I can't wait to get to that part in the game.
Well, yeah, there's like all sorts of also in like the Gerudo area, you can get like different jewelry. So like Link has always worn earrings, which I really love as well. He's always had earrings. He's always had like a longer tunic skirt type thing going on. And like you say, he could like be presenting more feminine in that kind of like regard. And he's had like slightly longer hair for most of the games and things. But like in the Gerudo area, you can make your own jewelry, which I know it might sound really silly, but it gives you like all sorts of different defenses and things. And you can make like a little tiara for him and things. And you can make him earrings and like
that's amazing.
amulets and stuff. And like, it's so good.
Can I spoil one of the side quests, Nyreen? Because it's very
fun. Go for it. I'm probably going to forget about it.
So there's a dude who works outside of the Gerudo village. And he has these sand seals that you can like ride around. And he has one that's like very fast or whatever. And if you approach him in like your regular costume, he's like, "Hey, fuck off, dude. Like, I don't want to like."
No, it's the shoes. He has shoes to like run across the sand. Because like you run slowly in the sand, and he's like, "I've got boots, so I can run fast." And you're like, "I want those boots."
And so if you approach him like with the Gerudo outfit on, he's like, "Oh my gosh, you're so beautiful, fair maiden. What can I do for you?" And like the text choices are like, "Boots, please." And it's just like, it's so funny.
Yeah, he's like, "Anything for you. You're so incredible. Your beauty is incomparable," and stuff. And this is like Link with like a full face covering on and everything as well, and like his like androgynous like boyish frame, because he's not got like a manly muscular sort of like body, has he? He's very like straight up, straight down, you know. He is quite androgynous in that aspect. And yeah, this man like is going hard, and then like you go through this whole quest line with him, and he's like, "If you could maybe like get these things for me, then I will do anything for you, my sweet love," and stuff. And it's like, it's great.
Like, I think you have the option to trade him like the heavy snow boots or whatever for the sand, because it's like a similar, it just makes you move faster across that certain terrain. I think you can just like outright take both from him, and he's just like, "Oh, okay, yeah, I guess that's fine. Like, we're still on for that date, right?" Or whatever. It's just like this.
Yeah, and Link's just like skipping away into the sunset. It does it. Like,
oh my god!
I'm pretty sure there's an option at some point to tell him, like, as well, that you're the same person that comes back like dressed in like your tunic and your boots and whatever, and like your little hat or whatever you want to have on, you know. And he's like, no, you're not. And like, it's fantastic.
So good. And those construction guys are definitely queer coded.
Oh yeah,
like, for sure.
There's oh my god, what are they called? Fabi and Fire in Twilight Princess as well, very queer coded. And you've got like Tingle and like Tingle's brothers and people, and then there's like people in the town in Wind Waker and things. Like, there is so many queer coded characters in Zelda, and I adore it.
All I thought of when you said Tingle was your Tingle cosplay.
Look, Tingle.
Have you seen it, Justin?
Tingle is an icon.
No, what?
Oh my god, it's so fucking good.
Have you played Tingle's Rupee?
I have not, because it's on PC, right? Is it on like a weird platform? I'm just finding you a picture of the Tingle costume. I have an emote in my channel of me dressed as Tingle. Like, the Tingle face is me. Like, it's beautiful. But I originally did it for charity as a joke, and then it became so popular that now we have the emote. So everybody loves a bit of Ellie Joy Tingle. So
Tingle's freshly picked Rosy Rupee Land. That's yes.
What is it about? Have you played it?
It's like a match 3 game, like Bejeweled, right?
I think so. It's just about Tingle trying to get rich.
Oh my god.
An icon. I've never done it with like the makeup and everything, or like a Tingle pose, and I probably should at some point, but like it's too warm right now. Those shorts as well are like the most constricting things I own.
Oh god.
And I do like aerial fitness, so I have some tiny pieces of clothing, and like those shorts are by far the worst of all of them.
Oh no.
That's so funny.
I wonder if you could like find someone that does like boudoir like photos and photo shoot.
Yes.
Get the community the fun for you.
That is an incredible idea.
Oh my god.
Nyreen also wanted to talk about how hot the Shark Man is.
Oh my god.
I haven't even met him yet. I just remember seeing pictures of Shark Man and going, Shark Man's hot. That's it. I'm a monster fucker. What do you want from me?
Every time he shows up when I'm streaming Breath of the Wild, I like mimic his little like fist pump that he does, and like he's just so perfect and sweet and pure, and I love him.
He's so good.
Yeah, isn't he like a himbo
Yes,
shark?
he's a
For
buff
sure.
fish
He's
man.
Perfect.
He's a himbo. He loves his sister, and Link's his best friend.
Oh yeah, he meets Link and
Oh
he's
my
like,
God.
"You look like a hero," and then just does everything for you. He's amazing.
Yeah, he's so good.
Aww.
Everyone
I love him.
in Breath of the Wild is either cute or hot. Like, Urbosa could crush me, and like I'd say thank you.
The fairy redesign in Breath of the Wild is one of the best things that the franchise
I
has
love
done with
them.
characters. Like, so Nyreen, you might not be aware of this, but the fairies in previous Zelda games were like these. The only way to describe them is as titty fairies. Like they're wearing no clothing, and their hair like floats, and they'll like lean forwards and like do the whole like sweetheart, like resting their chin on their hands, but in the air, like, you know, and they just have like ivy leaves covering to like preserve modesty.
They're like pointy
Oh my
poison
God.
ivy.
Yeah.
Essentially.
And then in Wind Waker, they were like, hey, what if we made them children? And everyone went, ah! And then in Breath of the Wild, they are these like beautiful, bedazzled, curvy women with like these extravagant hairstyles. Like, you can see the drag influence in them.
I was gonna say,
And, like,
I wonder if that was.
That's amazing.
Oh, it's incredible. Like, I don't know what possessed them to go that way, but I am here for it. And like playing through the have you played Hyrule Warriors, the new one?
Not the newest
No.
one, no.
So
I have it, but
minor spoilers for that. You can play as the fairies, and they come out in their like bulbs, and you like run around the world in the bulbs basically, and then they will smooch attack people. So you will
I
like
love it.
blow kisses and like hug people, and that's how you do damage to them, and it is incredible.
Zelda's super cute in Breath of the Wild too. Like,
Yes.
she got her little braids in and stuff.
I'm looking at the fairies from Breath of the Wild right now, and they are fantastic. Oh my god. I 100% see the dragon influence that you mentioned.
Mhm.
Absolutely. That's incredible. They look great.
Phenomenal character design there, because they took something that was so like
good.
heavily sexualized in previous games and made them like own it in a way. It's not like the ideal you know, the 90s Tomb Raider-esque, like they've got to have tits and an ass and tiny waist and that's your female character kind of thing. Like they have made it this incredible, empowering, beautiful thing, and I love that.
They're beautiful.
And people were really mad about it. Like, really mad.
Oh my god, whatever. Why? Because they're not skinny?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
People are so fucking
And they were
annoying.
like too in your face and extravagant and like bejeweled and, you know.
So they want them to be like meek and shy and playful and like
Yeah, the 90s women
Jen.
character design, you know?
yeah.
So yeah.
like, I don't exist without the main character because I can't have a personality. Like, I don't fucking, like, whatever. Typical shit. Oh my god, across people got mad over that. I think they look amazing.
They do. They really, really do.
I'm obsessed.
Do you have a favorite character, Ellie?
Oh, I don't know. That's a really hard question.
Top 5.
Oh god, I love Makar in Wind Waker because he like does a little jingle when he runs. He's like one of the Koroks. So there is like in Wind Waker there is a specific Korok that is a named character and he goes on the adventure with you for part of it and stuff. And he is the most beautiful little I would die for him. I have a plush of him and he's the squishiest thing. I feel like I love Link, but I feel like that's kind of like a guaranteed thing. Right. Oh my god, Girahim is the villain in Skyward Sword, and he is the most fabulous, again, really heavily queer-coded, like, he licks Link at one point, and, like, he's, like, in these leotards, and he's all, like throwing, I don't even know, he's perfect. He is such a good villain, because he's so dramatic, and he'll, like, fake swoon over things because he's like, oh no, you've thwarted me again, kind of thing. He's like a pantomime villain. He's perfect.
It's like if you took David Bowie from The Labyrinth and mashed him together with like James from Pokemon.
Yes, exactly.
Oh my god.
He's incredible. I remember the first time I came across him in the game and I was like, what is this? I want more of it. I want all of it. I love Linebeck as well from Phantom Hourglass because
oh my god. Okay, that is a gay. Yeah. That is absolutely a gay character. There's no way that character's straight. He's got Howl moving castle earrings.
He's like evil Howl, basically. If you could imagine Howl but a bad guy, that is Girahim. Yeah. There's a whole cutscene where he's like, look at this, the body, the looks, and he's like, it like flashes between all these different body parts and stuff, and he's literally just showing off and being like, how can you beat me? Look at me. Like,
oh my god.
Perfect. Yeah, I love Linebeck from Phantom Hourglass because he's like so flawed, and I love the character development throughout that game. He's like a treasure hunter that cares about no one but himself, and he goes on a journey with you. And Midna will always have my heart in Twilight Princess. She is, I think, she was like a queer awakening for me. I was like, holy shit, this woman's beautiful.
I know a lot of people have said the same thing about the Sheik Zelda reveal, like from Ocarina. Like that having a huge role in their sexual awakening.
Yeah, because Sheik is like really, I use this in the literal term, very ambiguous, because the whole point is you're not meant to know it's Zelda, right? But they're so mysterious and so like, they don't give you anything, and then when it's revealed that it is Zelda, it's like, oh, holy shit, that was a girl the whole time kind of thing, and yeah, it was a huge deal for a lot of people to see that kind of representation again in a way where it's not necessarily a defining huge deal about the character in the story. It's just like a part of what's going on in the game without it being like a specifically bad thing.
Did you know about that twist like prior to going into that game? Or
yes, yeah.
Okay. I feel like it'd be hard to go into it without like that sort of cultural osmosis at this point. But
yeah, I played Ocarina of Time. It was like the last 3D one that I played before Skyward Sword came out. So before that, I'd done Phantom Hourglass, Spirit Tracks, Wind Waker, Twilight Princess, and Majora's Mask, and then I played Ocarina of Time. So I came into Ocarina of Time with probably the worst angle, basically, having played all the games that came after it that were better iterations of it.
Right.
So yeah, it was difficult to not know the story already, especially because it's literally laid out for you at the start of Wind Waker. It's like one of the little pirates tells you a story about how like the princess was like kidnapped and Ganon was the evil and he came in and took her, and then she like pretended to be someone else, and evil like went over the land and everything, and it literally lays out the whole thing. So it's like, okay,
right. Which that twist in Wind Waker isn't isn't played to as great an effect. I think it's just weird because she loses her tan. That part's weird.
Yes,
but
that is strange.
I would be very excited to get into like more of the series because from what I have played, like mostly the handheld, like portable stuff, I've very much enjoyed it.
Yeah, I definitely want to. I definitely want to play Twilight Princess. I am going to be on the hunt for a Wii.
If you can get a Wii U as well, you can play it on the Wii U. You just need a Wii remote and a nunchuck.
Mm.
They are generally easier to get than Wii's, I find, because nobody wants Wii U's at all, and you can still buy them brand new. Like, it's weird.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure you can still get them like on Amazon brand new.
Probably. Yeah, because Nintendo's been kind of iffy on whether or not they would do another port of that one since it was in the last generation. They justified Skyward Sword because it was like technically 2 generations ago or whatever.
Mm-hmm. It's also very heavily going to play into this new game, isn't it? Let's be real.
Yeah.
Let's be real here.
Probably, yeah.
I would be suspicious of that too. Like, why would you re-release that and then you announce the sequel, and then
But like it's weird because they did like the whole 3D Mario collection, like the Superstar collection, so you would think they could do the same thing for Zelda, but
so my sort of like insight and using industry insider knowledge on this of like game dev and stuff is that I think there's only one team that works on Zelda. Please people correct me if I'm wrong on this, but I'm pretty sure there's only one team that works on Zelda. And they get support from Monolith Soft, who are doing the Xenoblade games. And they've been supporting on Breath of the Wild's sequel. And the folks that work on the remasters are not the main Zelda team, from what I can tell.
That would make sense.
But Aonuma still has like a lot of input on them to make sure that they are what they are, And I'm one of the kind of people that I'm very like, would you rather have a remaster of a 7-year-old game or whatever, or would you rather have a brand new game? Like, they can take 3 years out of the development of a brand new game to do a full remake of one of the older ones if you want, or we can just get a new game,
Yeah, because I think... Zelda has like had a number of spin-off games. So the Game Boy Advance games, so, Four Swords, Minish Cap, I think there was maybe one other. They were made by Flagship Games, which is funded by Capcom and is like was supported by Nintendo. So Minish Cap was like the last game they put together, but like all of those were done by a third party, essentially. And they don't use that tactic like very much at all now, and if they can keep, especially with the subscription model that they have for like N64 and stuff, there's not a ton of incentive to like pull those games at least.
Yeah, I mean, I know there's a lot of people that say like, oh, well, there's all these generations like of people that haven't had access to these games and things, and it's like, yes, it is expensive to buy into them, for sure. It really is. But Nintendo are very good at keeping their magic across franchises, like that to go back to the iteration thing, they will try something new to keep it feeling fresh. And I would very much rather have a new game than gain access to the older ones, because I know that I fully accept that I'm in a very privileged position for this, but like I would rather invest in the older things for a franchise that I know I adore than get it again on every single platform. Like, we already had a Wind Waker remastered. We already had a Twilight Princess remastered. We already had Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask remastered. And a lot of people don't realize that remastering and remaking games is not easy. And porting games across hardware, especially when Nintendo are concerned, is really fucking difficult. Because the reason why one of the reasons why the Wii U didn't do so well was because it didn't have many third-party games on it. And it's because the hardware was so different to anything that Nintendo had used before, and like the framework and everything was so different that no one had the time and the budget to make games for it, because they couldn't just port it like from PS3 to Wii U. You couldn't do that. You had to make the game from scratch for that console. So any games that came out on the Wii U are so different, and on the Wii, they're so different to the structure, the infrastructure within like the Switch, because the Switch is all NVIDIA stuff, isn't it? It's NVIDIA hardware.
Yeah.
Like, it's really difficult to port those games across. And like, I don't know how long they were working on the Mario 3D collection for. Like, I have no idea. And like, the fact that we even got Skyward Sword is like, honestly, a miracle. So that's why I'm like, this has to tie into the story, because they wouldn't have just remastered it willy-nilly, you know? Like,
yeah,
it's gotta be, because that's the newest one. And like, Twilight Princess and Wind Waker HD had remasters like the year after Skyward Sword came out. So like, why would they choose that one over the others when both of those games were more popular than Skyward Sword? So, like, I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, the Wii U was a weird one.
So, I know a bunch of people who like used to work on the Lego games and stuff, and there is a reason why a bunch of the Lego games are not on the Wii U and they have Lego City Undercover, and that's why Lego City Undercover is only on that console, because they just made a brand new game for that console and did not make it for other things, and as a consequence did not port the other games onto the Wii U, because it was just so difficult to develop for alongside, like, in tandem with other platforms. Whereas now it's a lot easier for people because it's modern hardware. So, yeah.
Yeah, we're starting to see, like, a convergence of manufacturing, like, between consoles and PC and all that good stuff. So that's nice.
Mm-hmm.
I thought it was interesting because we talked about Link being androgynous and folks being able to see themselves in Link. And there was actually a magazine that commissioned an artist to draw artwork of Link when the game was first like shown, based off of the pixely Link, like the Game Boy one, I think it was. And they thought Link was a girl, so they got the artist to draw a girl with red hair.
No way.
Yeah.
Oh, she's super cute.
I don't think I've ever seen that.
Someone just recently uploaded like high quality scans of it.
Yeah, I hadn't really sort of dwelled on how much queer stuff there is in Zelda in general until this conversation. But now I'm thinking about it, like, every game has a queer-coded character or a character where it's like, yeah, they are definitely gay, you know? And I think that's, like, it shouldn't be, like, revolutionary, right? It should be normal. But the fact that, like, I've grown up with that just being a normal thing in games, I think that's amazing. That there are these franchises that are super popular and there are just queer characters and they're just there, you know?
They're just hanging out.
Yeah. Literally every single game, I'm like going through all the different games in my head and I'm like, oh yeah, there's this person. Oh, and that person there. And like, it's amazing.
And apparently, the only one, I guess Tingle is canonically straight, because I forget who got asked that question, but they were like, no, he's just a weirdo.
Yeah.
Like,
Yes. Oh, yes. Oh my goodness, that's incredible. There is Linkle, isn't there, who is a brand new character for the original Hyrule Warriors game on Wii U.
Yes.
And she was a whole thing in herself. Like, she caused an uproar. I just think she's cute. I think she's very sweet. But I'm like 90% convinced that the new Zelda game is going to be Link gets corrupted and then you play as Zelda to try to rescue him. Whether it's going to be like a first act is Link, the rest is Zelda, or whether it's half and half, or you go like between the two storylines and like Zelda's underground and Link's in the sky or something. Like, I'm convinced that that's where it's going, because they've very deliberately shown Link from the back most of the time in the trailers and stuff, and they've not really shown his face much outside of the original cinematic trailer. And I would die if we could play as Zelda. Because, like, it wouldn't be the first time. Like, you've been able to play as Zelda in Spirit Tracks. You can play as her for a little bit. But, like, yeah, it would be awesome. Because I think she's such a cool character and she's so fleshed out. In particular, in Hyrule Warriors, you see a lot of the Age of Calamity one. You see a lot of her like inner struggle in a very different way to how it's depicted in Breath of the Wild, because it's all done in like cutscenes and flashbacks, isn't it, in Breath of the Wild? But yeah, like I think she's got a lot of potential, and I would love to play as her.
Yeah, she's so cool. Like, she has so much agency in Breath of the Wild and from Hyrule Warriors, from what I've seen. And it's like a different approach, because I mean, she says she's not good at magic, so it's like kind of science-y. It's like a little Princess Bubblegum-y, but not as like evil, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, I don't want to spoil it for Nyreen, but there is a specific cutscene that you can unlock in Breath of the Wild that's like a secret extra bit. And it is possibly the most emotional I have ever got in a Zelda game, was that cutscene, because it's her coming into her own. And in Age of Calamity, she has a similar moment where she's like, it's a different story in Age of Calamity, because it's essentially that the calamity is upon them now. You don't have to do the whole like, oh, Zelda was in the castle holding Ganon for 100 years or whatever. Like, it's happening now, and they have to try and stop him now, kind of thing. And you use the divine beasts like to take down like Ganon's forces and whatever. It's super, super cool. But anyway, she doesn't have her powers at the start of the game, like in the cutscenes in Breath of the Wild. And you play as her with her little Sheikah Slate, and then she unlocks her power, and there is this just mind-blowing cinematic where she suddenly finds a way. It's different to the way that she does in Breath of the Wild. Like, it's a different way that she unlocks it. And it's full, like, independent woman, like, coming of age, like, growing into herself and finally having the confidence to just absolutely go off and destroy people. And it's incredible.
That's cool. I can't wait to get to that part. That sounds rad, honestly.
Yeah, there was definitely a lot of it that I didn't like, because I really loved the first Hyrule Warriors just for how silly it was. Like, it was a proper arcadey, like, you could play as every Zelda character. Like, it was great. And this one, I felt like it tried to be a bit too serious, but there was exactly 2 moments where I, like, yelled at it, and that was one of them. So, yeah.
Does anybody have any closing thoughts about The Legend of Zelda?
I just love it. I just love Zelda.
I'm excited to get more into it and explore it more.
We'll do a follow-up once you're like all caught up. And
oh my gosh, yes.
Oh yeah, that would be really, yeah.
I want to hear every little detail about your like Zelda journey, because it was an absolute joy watching you play through Link's Awakening for the first time as your first Zelda game.
I really liked that game. That game made me like, I just felt really good playing that game. Like,
just wait until you're like
really fun.
6 or 7 games deep, and you'll be like, oh my god, this was like, that was that little tiny bit of music twiddly thing from that dungeon in that game, and it all like links together, and it's like, oh, it's so good.
And then we'll find you a Philips CDI, and we'll go from there.
A what? What is that?
So there was like a CDI Zelda game that is like terrible. It's like people only speak of it as a joke.
Oh no!
Yeah, I've never played it. I don't want to play it. Like,
yeah,
no, thank you.
I feel like that could be a fundraising goal for you.
It would be very hard to find.
Yeah,
a CDI was essentially like a super expensive like projector, like PowerPoint projector.
Wait, what? That's so fucking random.
So it was like you had these like CDs that essentially function like DVDs, and you would use like a clicker to move Link or Zelda across the screen.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
They're awful.
It's,
wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's a big no.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like I would run out of patience.
Oh yeah, no, yeah. No, I feel like within the first 5 minutes you would be so angry.
Sounds like a good party game though.
God, no. Just no. It's like, no. It's painful. It is a painful game. It hurts everyone who looks at it.
Do you want to plug anything before we...
Oh, yes, please.
Yeah, so if you want to follow me anywhere, no obligation to, of course, but I'm Ellie Joy Panic everywhere. Instagram, Twitter, Twitch. I stream regularly and just bring my specific brand of chaos to streams. And I play what I like to call hard and soft games. I'm currently doing things like Elden Ring and The Witcher and some like indies and stuff. And I also charity fundraise alongside my beautiful stream team, Cosmic Hearts. So please also check them out too. They are the most phenomenal group of humans, and I'm genuinely inspired by them and in awe of them every single day. So if you like, even if you don't check me out, check them out, please, because they're beautiful and handsome and talented and incredible. So yes. So we are doing a Sims tour on Sunday the 26th. So the team has been putting together Sims lots, very, very queer Sims lots, to put into a neighborhood that we're going to be touring on the Cosmic Hearts channel on Sunday.
I'm so excited.
I cannot wait. The amount of cursed nonsense in some of those builds is just...
Oh my god.
I'm so excited to see everything. And it's going to be really wholesome, I think, as well. And it'll be like the first team event that we've run on the team's Twitch. So it's a pretty big deal, and I'm going to be producing it on the back end. So yes, it's exciting.
Happy Pride.
Yeah, happy Pride.
Thank you so much for chatting with us, Ellie. It's been a ton of fun.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, thank you for letting me ramble on about my love for a video game for like an hour.
It's all good. I think last time we tried recording something with like the four of us, we probably chatted for like 3.5 hours.
Oh my goodness.
Oh yeah, it's like a lot of screaming and laughing too. It's like we're all little shit posters, you know.
All you gotta do is say Fire Emblem in Cody's presence and she'll be off.
Yeah, yeah. She's like foaming at the mouth.
That's easily a 40-minute detour, you know, like.
So we usually end the episodes with a catchphrase. So hit us with a catchphrase, Ellie.
Oh my god. Can it be Tingle Tingle Kulu Limpa?
Yeah, it could be whatever you want it to be.
Perfect. Bye.
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 Hey cuties, thanks for listening to our podcast. If you liked this episode of Arcade Cuties, be sure to let us know by leaving a review on iTunes, sharing the show with a friend, and leaving a suggestion for future episodes. Make sure to follow us on our social media to stay up to date with our content. We appreciate all of the love and support. Until next time, bye cuties!